Hi, I'm Catherine Mora. I'm a book coach and this is Kat's Book Chat. There. No? There. Far out. Why can't I do it? There. I think it's like a mirror thing. What do I do? So I help people write beautiful quality books and put them out into the world. And today's topic is, what are the tips and tricks to great book covers? Now, book covers, we all know everybody judges a book by its cover, no matter how much you would hope that they don't. They definitely do in life and in books. So the first thing is that your book cover obviously needs to entice people to buy. Now, I know that's obvious, but at the same time, what does that actually mean? Because I see lots of book covers that aren't great. So I wonder, what did that person think was enticing about that cover? So for example, a question I get asked regularly is, should I put my photo on the cover? Now, that is also a very subjective question and therefore a subjective answer. Is that enticing for people to buy? If you are Tony Robbins or Oprah, I would say yes, because they know you, they recognize you, you're very famous, people want to hear what you have to say. It would probably entice them to pick it up. If you are a lesser known person like me, for example, would you want to buy a book with my picture on the cover? Probably not, in my opinion. And that's because you need to connect as a reader with the book cover. So are your readers going to connect with you, or are they going to connect with your message? You can always put your photo on the back, totally into photos on the back, but if it's on the front, I feel like you need to have a bit of a reputation or a profile already in order to put your photo on the front. If you're building your profile by writing a book, which is one of the beautiful things about writing a book, then you might not be in the your photo on the cover kind of position at the moment. So it doesn't mean you don't look great, because I bet you do, but just keep thinking about, what does my reader want and what will my reader want to pick up? If they don't love you yet, and I'm sure they will later, they need something that really draws their attention. So obviously your book cover has to stimulate curiosity, but it also has to be relevant to your reader. So something that will appeal to your reader based on the demographics, and that's one of the reasons of having quite a strong target audience in mind while you're writing. Another thing is, you want to accurately represent the story or the contents of the book. So you don't want something completely random, not saying that you would do this, but something completely random to get someone's attention. Do you remember in the old days of websites when people would do the keyword stuffing? So at the bottom of a page they would have a whole paragraph full of all these keywords to try and get it found by search engines. Those days are over, and by that same token, whatever you put on the cover has to be relevant, not just eye-catching. That doesn't mean you have to be literal, because some of the best covers aren't totally literal. Okay, so you've definitely got license to be creative. Now, one of my big things about book covers, and by the way, excuse my dog doing snuffling and rolling around, I think he's trying to get my attention. I believe you have to love your book cover. So when my first book came out, which was a novel, I had about 20 covers done. I had 3 different designers working on them. Not at the same time. I had one designer do a few and I didn't love them. I had another designer do some, I didn't love them. Then I had another designer do some which I loved, but then I also had a photo retoucher get involved, and I'll get onto that in a second. So I believe you do need to love your book, because if you don't love your cover, I don't think anyone else is going to love it either. It's one of those energy things, I think, that feeling has to be there when you put it out into the world, because then you'll be proud of it. I reckon there'd be nothing worse than picking up a book and holding it up and you didn't love it, because you would feel the disconnect. You'd think, oh shit, I hate this cover. So make sure you love it and keep going until you love it. As I said, I had about 20 covers done by 3 different people before I loved mine. Now, within the actual technical aspects of the book cover, there are a number of little tips and tricks. The first one is using white space to create focus, and these aren't in any particular order. If you use white space, you might have a thing across the cover and your title is in that, just to really draw focus into whatever that is on the cover, in this case the title or your name or whatever it is. So you can also use narrative in your book cover. So something from your story you can illustrate in the cover, whether that be through actual illustrations or photos. So something that represents the theme of your book. Perhaps if it's a memoir, something, that central theme that I've talked about when writing a memoir, picking that central theme, that could be represented on the book cover. What else? I've got some notes down here. Oh yes, make sure it looks good as a thumbnail, because you know, even though your book cover is, say, this big, as a thumbnail it's about that big, and you want it to stand out as a thumbnail. It doesn't mean they have to be able to read the text necessarily, but make sure it stands out as a thumbnail. If it's too busy and it doesn't make sense as a thumbnail, it's no good. Keep the colors simple, I would say, not too many colors. That does depend on your brand and those sorts of things, but just think about how confusing it is to the eye or how pleasing it is to the eye. Do a cover vote on your social media. That's always a great thing, not only to get feedback, because mind you, everyone's going to like a different one, but to keep people involved in your book writing journey, and that's another thing that I teach. Now, if you use photography, try and make it custom, like actually have photos taken. Or if you use, he's so noisy today, or if you use stock photography, customize it in some way, like manipulate it, and that's what I did with my book cover. Now, as you can see, this was not my first book, which was a novel. She is a photo, and the background is a vector, so she stands out. What she's looking at here is also a vector, but I had her lips and her hair made a different colour by a photo retoucher, and I think the little thing in her hair as well, the little elastic band thingy as well, was recoloured. So obviously it's also bright colours related to my brand, very relevant to the audience of this particular book, which was 18 to 35-year-old women. And then this brings me to another tip, and that is the tip of thirds. So if you see, she is on the third. The original one of this, her face was in the middle, and then I had the designer move it over to the thirds because that makes it really eye-catching. As a result, my book, when in all the bookshops it's been in, which has been a lot, they tend to put it cover out because it's so eye-catching. So what else have I got here? Oh yeah, your typography can actually be the feature. So if you have a great title, you can actually make that the feature of the book cover with very little imagery. And I think, as I said, probably my one take home is you have to love it. You have to be in love with it for other people to be in love with it. I'm going to make that the end of this video. Apart from anything else, my dog is driving me crazy back there with all his snuffling. He wants to go out. And I hope that's been helpful. I'd love to see your book cover design. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And until then, I'll drop a link below to my 45 steps to book writing and publishing, which I hope will be helpful. And I'll see you very soon. Bye.